it is active. The Newark Aubrey siding project is approximately 10,000 feet long, 2 miles. It falls on the border for the Fremont to Newark. The actual project, as shown in green in front of you, is located in the Don Edwards Wildlife Preserve. So it is a siding project. It is not a station. So people don't get on and off there because it's not a station, but it has value to the system. So what value does sidings bring? Sidings bring 3 primary values to the system. The first thing siding does is it allows bilateral movement. At this location, we have singular movement. Once this siding is complete, we'll allow bilateral movement. The second thing a siding does, especially here, is once we put in a crossover, not only will it allow bilateral movement, you'll be able to move trains left and right at the switch point. But probably the most important thing this siding does in this location is, given the fact that it is located essentially in a wetland and at the location, and we've had landslides there, we've had floods there. This siding does, it allows us to pull one track into maintenance and keep the system operational. Right now, you'll see that we basically have one track and it's a pinch point. So anytime we have to do maintenance, which is very routine in the winter and rainy season, the system goes completely down. So this siding project will provide a lot of redundancy. This is the current condition of the Newark Aubrey siding project. What you see is a track chart. I will brief the track chart from the right to the left as you see it. As you see on the right, we have a siding. It's shown by 2 red lines. This siding is 4,000 feet long. This siding is not up to current standards. And what we are going to do as part of this project is basically replace that siding and increase the serviceability of the track. As you move from right to left, looking at this slide, you can see we lose one track and there's actually a gap. We have 2 tracks on the left and 2 tracks on the right. This gap is actually at the Maori Slough, and there's a bridge there. And not only are we going to add track, we're going to replace that bridge. So as you move from right to left, we're replacing that siding, we're replacing that bridge, and we're going to fill that pinch point, that gap. And if you look at the existing conditions below, you can see the summary. We have 4,000 feet of a siding track, which we are going to replace. We have 5,800 feet of new track, and then we're going to remove that choke point, adding to the system and allowing more trains. So what is this going to look like? It's going to look like this. This is the system as you'll see it when completion. Everything you see in green is new. Again, 4,000 feet, 5,800 feet, and in the center you can see we put in a new bridge, and all the way to the left of this. All the way to the left of the slide, as you see it, there is a crossover. And at the end result, it will improve the reliability of the railroad and of our system. And again, we have 3 definable features of work here: the track, the bridge, and the crossover. And Mr. Filion, the engineer record, will brief you on that.
Progress.
Yeah, so actually the mainline track work for the project include construction of approximately 2 miles of new track to extend the double track. Actually from the UP milepost 32.9 to 34.9. The extended double track increase the capacity and improve reliability of both freight and commuter operation. So in addition to the track work, there will be 2 at-grade private crossing that need safety improvement. The design of the 2 grade crossing will need pretty close coordination and require field diagnostic with the CPUC and also with the Union Pacific Railroad. Next slide, please. So the track also crosses over Maori Slough, and it is located within an environmentally sensitive area, and it's surrounded by wetland and influenced by tidal water from the bay. So at Maui Slough, we will be building a new bridge, and then currently there's an existing bridge there, and the bridge was built in 1973, and it was over 50 years old. So the new bridge is about 40 feet long, and the design will need close collaboration with the Union Pacific Railroad, and we also need to coordinate closely with the Alameda Flood Control District. Next slide, please. So the mainline track work include the construction of approximately 2 miles, and then to also accommodate the new extended double track. So we're building a new number 24 crossover, and this number 24 crossover will connect the two tracks and allow the train to bypass each other. And the construction of the double track and the crossover will eliminate the choke point at this point and improve the operation and also reliability in this location for both freight and commuter operation. So I'm gonna pass this back to Will.
Thank you. So where are we? So in summary, this is the status of the project. Currently, we are under final design. The project is fully environmentally cleared. We have submitted our 25% design plans to the Union Pacific Railroad. The actual sidewalk is scheduled essentially less than 2 weeks today, 13th of November. And then we anticipate final design completion essentially 1 year from today, next November. Subject to your questions, this concludes the brief. Thank you for your time.
So the planning will be finished a year from now, then construction will start?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, follow-up
Yes.
question. Because this is really an opportunity to deal with that issue of maintenance and having a second line. Will it be really ACE using that line? It's not it's not done just for UP to have an alternative line, UP.
We'll use both lines will be rated as a fully functional track. We'll have two mainline tracks. The dispatch of the Union Pacific Railroad will direct the trains, but both tracks should be available to us, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, yeah, I think I just want to make sure that it's an issue where we really are not losing time because of maintenance issues, because we're on a single track and we have the ability to use both tracks.
No, we will have the ability to use both tracks.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is an area where Capital Corridor runs, Amtrak long distance trains run, ACE trains, and then the UP train. So Capital Corridor has their own siding. What we do is hopscotch each other. Here, you build this one, we'll build this one, you build this one. So they're building something called the Agnew siding right around the same time we are. So we're both working to get all of that area double tracked. Because passenger trains are more sensitive time-wise than freight trains, and when we're getting in each other's way, it's not good.
Although I'm sure UP doesn't think that's the case.
Well, that's probably true.
Any other questions? Do we have anything online?
No.
Thank you. Next item is the Lathrop Wide Box Culvert Project update. Chen.
Morning, Chair Zuber and members of the committee. I am John Chen. I have the honor of providing an update on the Lathrop Wide Box Culvert project. You guys are already familiar with the project. You know this is just the first part of the overall Lathrop Wide track and station project. The site locations in Lathrop borders Manteca. It's actually shown here in this beautiful artwork as well.
Hey.
So back in March and April, when the contract was awarded, this is what the site looked like. I personally took that photo because I wanted to see what we were going to be dealing with. The FCOC is owned by South San Joaquin Irrigation District. And fast forward 4 months, when the contractor finally was able to commence work, getting submittals approved. You guys might have seen this photo as well. It gives you the scale of the overall excavation. Length of a football field as wide as I-5 and about a story deep. And fast forward 2 months, and I want to emphasize 2 months. That's an extraordinary amount, short period of time to get something constructed. And this is where we're at. I took this photo, the inspector took this photo you see 2 weeks ago. It's a finished product as far as a culvert, water is diverted in there, it's an operation right now. So how did we get from March to where we are now? That's what I want to go over. This is a success story. We are on budget and on schedule. Contract was awarded about $7 million. The engineer's estimate was $8 million. We've issued 23 change orders. The first one was actually an administrative change order, $0. Change orders 2 and 3, I think the committee is aware of 3. I presented that previously, was the result of an unforeseen condition. It happens in construction, but we were able to mitigate it. 2.3 million added to it. Right now, the contract is at 9.2. I dare say when this contract is eventually closed out, in 3, 4, 6 months from now, it might even be at 9 million after we reconcile and the unused allowance funding in there. Total bill to date is about 8 million. That's not including the work completed this month. And after that, we're gonna be at 85-90% build after this month. So the bulk of the work is completed in another 2 weeks. I said this project also on schedule. The original completion date is 2 weeks from now, and that's the 15th of November. We're on schedule to meet substantial completion, and we intend to grant notice of substantial completion to the contract. That's the original completion date. How did we get here? I attribute it to really a proactive response by the team, and that's the construction management consultant that was brought on board, the project manager from commission that's heading this project, and then the construction leadership. Challenges presented here at the very beginning of the project. We're getting agreements in place with UPRR. It's also getting agreements in place with the irrigation district because we're working on their property. And then during construction, the unforeseen conditions, the groundwater was at a higher elevation than we anticipated based on those engineer plans. So what was the solution? We met with UPRR, we met with SJRRC on a very regular basis. Weekly standing meetings with them. Our project manager, we work with the design consultants who were part of their additional job. And in fact, SJRRC brought on a facilities inspector who was on site every day. And our inspectors were able to work hand in hand with that inspector. Likewise, UP brought on an observer. And we had an observer on site who not only documented what was going on to make sure they felt comfortable with the work we were installing, but that gave us a chance to also talk and explain to the observer. So proactive response by the entire team. And then, of course, the scheduled recovery plan, when we did hit an unforeseen condition, we worked with the contractor, and it was the CM, it was myself, it was the project manager who came up with that idea to mitigate 6 weeks of potential delay. And that's why we're on schedule. Some boring stuff here, project scope, administrative items, that's the paperwork side of things. And then the field activities, which I think we all know and see, and we want to see photos on. But I do want to point out that the administrative side of things is really where the bulk of the work is for the construction management team, for the project manager, for the construction leadership. And think of an iceberg, we say the tip of the iceberg is 10%. What you don't see is below the water, that's the 90%. I don't know if 1090 is relative, applicable here, but it's very close. A lot of the heavy lift coordination with getting submittals approved is on the administrative side of things. And we have to get submittals approved by UP, by the irrigation district, by rail commission as well. And so it's like the saying for quality control, if it's not documented, it never happened. And so in construction, it's very similar. If we don't have the proper documentation, it's not accepted. Anyways, that's the administrative side of things. It's as boring as this slide. I want to talk about those field activities, okay? So back in May, when we were able to start, first order of business, and I'm gonna go this fairly quickly here. First order of business was get that bypass installed. That's the pipe that allowed to drain the water. Contractor installs the cofferdam, the sheet piles on both the inlet and the outfall side. And then there was a period of dry off for it, following environmental permit requirements as well. We encountered there's groundwater higher than we expected. June, July, a lot of re-engineering, getting ground loads installed, and then allowed us to proceed in August to actually start the excavation, build the bedding, subgrade, compact, and make sure it met requirements. And after that, the following month, still same month, we actually started installing the bottom slab. It's the foundation of the culvert, and iron workers were able to mobilize, put in that reinforcing steel. And then started the barrel segments. Barrel segments is the vertical walls and the top deck using an innovative forming technique, traveling forms, EFCO, that allows to contractor to work on different segments at the same time, building the vertical walls and the top deck, and continue through the month of September. But the job's not done yet because the culvert is not just the box itself. You got an inlet structure and outfall, bottom consisting of a bottom slab apron, vertical side slope protection, and riprap and wing walls. So that happened in the last 2-3 weeks. We met an interim milestone that was set forth to our contractor 2 weeks ago, October 15th. We said, you need to finish all this work, meet the environmental permit requirements, and get the culvert in operation. In other words, remove the coffer dam, divert the water back in there, take the bypass offline. And we did that October 15th. What we're doing right now at this point is backfilling. Again, the contractor using an innovative method, using the excavated soil, mixing it with cement and water, and that allows them to pump up both sides. And in fact, I think as of today, I called the resident engineer just this morning, they're finishing up the backfill right now. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I want to also give you a video. Give me 40 seconds. What you see here is, well, first of all, it gives you an idea of how tight this job site is. There's only one way in and out for those who have been able to go out there. This is showing an operation where contractors getting ready to place concrete for the walls and the top deck. And you see cement trucks are backing in, the pumper is set up right there. And this is one segment, and then same day they did another segment of both the walls and the top deck. Forty seconds seems longer. This is where we're at. On closeout. Things are all doing well. We are scheduled to meet the original patient date of November 5th. It's 2 weeks from now. At this point, site restoration, punch list items, and a lot of the administrative boring closeout that this team knows how to do. This concludes the brief.
Well done.
Well done. Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I might just ask a
Sure.
question. It's so smart to have UP in the irrigation district there along the way, just because it saves time down the road, certainly when it comes to inspections. And I think that's my last point is, what agencies have to complete inspections on this before it's all signed off and everybody's happy?
This is what I said before, ma'am, the SSJID irrigation district has an inspector.
Okay.
And that individual and Forrest and his team have already accepted everything that's been installed as a contemporaneous basis. On the UP side, we have been providing all the control documents to them. Site specific work plans are just very submittals that the railroad requires. As we are formed to even proceed with the work. Then after work is installed, provide the follow-up documentation to them to accept. So to answer your question, the only thing that's left for them to accept is, again, this is the boring stuff, the mission, as-built drawings, certificates of conformance, warranties, guarantees. These are all things that have already been predefined between commission and these third parties. And so that's what's going to take the rest of the next 2, 3, 4 months.
To get. So we don't have to do any county or environmental agency sign-offs at the state or the county level. It's just really the two key partners have that authority to sign off.
I don't know fully, I can't fully answer that question, man, like, all I did is about the third parties,
Okay,
but someone can get back.
thank you.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions. Refresh my memory. What necessitated the large change order? Was it the dewatering? What was the unforeseen circumstance that?
Yes, of course. Yes, it was the unforeseen condition was the groundwater. Okay, And so back in June, July, if this job was as executed as originally contemplated, in June, July, the contractor would have been doing the bedding and start building the foundation and such. What happened in June is when the contractor started excavating, they hit water. And this is not water from the irrigation canal, this is groundwater. And the original engineer, the geotechnical report, that again was authored and developed 3 years ago during the dry period, was showing water as deep as 19 feet. And everyone went in assuming that. And so what happens in construction, this happens, is they start digging and they hit water and then realize that the groundwater was actually 10 feet, 12 feet. And change order 3, which I presented to this committee, was to show that you need to go in there, engineer dewatering wells to draw the water down. So it's almost like a mini project, just to allow the contractor to go in there and do their original research. Okay, so to the tune of $1.7 million.
Well, hallelujah for their water table. I'm sure their local Sigma is excited to hear that news.
After that rain.
Second question, I think it was this project, but I seem to remember something about there was criticism of the substrate of our project relative to fish or frogs or not having a loamy gravelly bottom. Was that this project? Or am I confusing this with something?
It's the Mormon Slough.
Stockton.
Yeah, Stockton Diamond.
Thank you. That was an easy question.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I went out there to see that twice, and you can look at all the pictures you want,
Until you're out.
but until you walk out there and see how deep that ditch was and how thick those concrete walls are that they put up, the fact that they got it done in 2 months was literally mind blowing, because I was out there. They had just finished the concrete floor and were starting to put in the walls,
The barrels.
and I went, what was it, 2 weeks later?
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
I thought I was gonna get out there, because I wanted to see how the wall things, they moved in sections. So I get out there, it's done. And they've taken the last set of forms out and the whole project was done, basically in 2 weeks. So I mean, it was amazing.
Sounds like a presentation to the Society of Civil Engineers is called for.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. You set a standard for everybody else to be.
It's a reminder, this is not track.
All right, item 6 is the Valley Rail Program funding update. Momo.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So I am here to give updates on the Valley Rail funding program. So in March of 2024, in this committee meeting, we have reported some challenges associated with significant cost escalation for all of the Valley Rail program projects due to inflation, rising interest rate, supply chain issues, and labor shortage, and so on. During that meeting, we received very clear directions from this committee to pursue additional grant funding so that we can deliver the Valley Rail program. And since then, in coordination with the other departments within this agency and local partner and state partners, our department has been applying for various grant funding and securing funds to date. And I would like to share the updates on the funding program. So our very first priority, of course, is the Stockton Diamond project. About a year ago, we had $104 million of shortfall for this project. But we were lucky to receive the Transit Inner City Rail Capital Program Grant Award, as well as Trade Corridor Enhancement Program Future Capacity from Caltrans and CalSTA, the total of $87 million. And so now the current shortfall is significantly lower than where we started. So it's at $17 million today. And we have also applied for 2 federal grant programs called Port Infrastructure and Development Program and the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant. So these grants awards are still pending, so we are very hopeful But just in case we do not get these grants awarded, we are ready to transfer funds from other non-priority projects to this project, so we can move forward with the construction. The second priority is Valley Rail South Series extension. And so thanks to Stanford's assistance, we were able to receive SB 125 funding for fourth series and Modesto Station project in the amount of $13 million. In addition to that program, we also applied for various state, federal, and regional grants. To date, most of those grants awards are still pending, except for RAISE grant that we applied for the North Lathrop Transfer Station project. Although we were not awarded the $29 million, our project was recognized as a project of merit. So which means that this project automatically moves to the final consideration for the next year's RAISE grant award. So we are very hopeful, and I think we have a pretty good chance next year. The third priority is Valley Rail North, the Thomas extension. We went after pretty big federal grants, Mega and Christie, in the amount of $120 million for the group of Valley Rail North Thomas extension project. Unfortunately, we did not get it, but we will apply again at the next grant cycle. And then we received small awards from the state for high-tip and affordable housing program. For City College Station design phase and Midtown Station construction phase. These two programs, ITIP and affordable housing, we have been very successful to date to receive more grant awards every year. And so we will continue to do so in the future cycle as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you go back to that?
Yes.
Fourth one down, the affordable housing and sustainable communities application, what is the ZEMU?
Zero emission multiple units. So the state is procuring 4-car set train set hydrogen fuel cell propulsion vehicles. And so we were able to also receive funds for that procurement. So we will be entering into a funds transfer agreement with the state for that.
Thank you.
I want to add to that because Brian hasn't had a chance to talk about this in a while. But our current fleet is a locomotive that hauls a bunch of cars. Like the cars are not powered except for lighting and heat and like hotel power. When Momo says multiple units, each of these cars generates its own power. There's a power bank that distributes power to all the wheels. And so generally those are lighter weight. They look very different than the locomotive hauled. And Brian and Momo will do some more presentations in the near future, but it's a whole different way of propulsion than what we have been used to. Not necessarily suitable everywhere. No one has shown us yet. No one has shown Brian that from an engineering standpoint, that those units can make it over the Altamont Pass with the grades we have and the curves with the passenger loads we have. So I think the key thing for us is the number of passengers we have to carry because we run so few trains. You got to have 700 people or more on it, and there are no sets to date that have been able to pull that kind of load with those kind of units. So that's why we got to keep both. We got to build towards the future, but we have to keep our workhorses alive because the future hasn't quite caught up with the grade and the passenger loads yet.
Thank you, Stacey.
I just gave you another assignment though to come back to the board.
Brian already did it.
Okay, I figured.
So this last slide shows the snapshot of all the other grant awards we received to date. This table includes not just the capital projects, but the operations, planning, track C, and then other capital projects that were not included in the previous slide. I'm not gonna go over every single grant or the projects, but as you can see from this table, our program or our agency is very well supported by our local, state, and federal partners. And I am really happy to report to you today that total as of today, including the Stockton Diamond, Valley Rail Series, and the Thomas extension from the previous slide, we have secured 3 $311.9 million just for over a year since last summer. And so we are in pretty good shape, but we are not done yet. So we are going to continue to apply for more grant funds to fully fund our program. So this concludes my report and I'm happy to take any questions.
Good question.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just to the railroad crossing elimination grant, is that specific to a project or is it for multiple projects?
It's for Stockton Diving Project.
Okay, and then for the ATP, Lodi Station caught my eye. So is that for design, engineering? What is the funding pay for? Construction. Hey, hallelujah. Okay, thank you.
You have anything? All right, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, oh, now we go to closed session. You're on.
Thank you. Closed session, we have one item and bear with me, I'm going to read the title, it's fairly lengthy. Conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Property at issue is the acquisition of additional rail right-of-way and tracks, which is trackage rights within the Valley Rail Project corridor, including but not limited to Sacramento subdivision between El Pinal near Stockton, milepost 95, and Natomas, milepost 147. The Fresno subdivision between El Pinal and Stockton and milepost 83, and the Lathrop UP connection, milepost 84.5. And the Fresno subdivision between the Lathrop UP connection at milepost 84.5 and Turlock, milepost 129. The agency negotiator is Stacy Mortensen, Executive Director. Negotiating party, Union Pacific Railroad Company, a Delaware corporation. Under negotiation are price and payment terms. And with that, we will adjourn to closed session. Yeah, we, it was early, this was dark this morning. when we arrived.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, we're back in open session. Council?
Alrighty, thank you. We had one item on closed session. That was conference with real property negotiators. That item was discussion only, and at this time, there is no other reportable action.
Next item is committee members. Anything?
I'll just say that I just returned from a trip to China where we took the majority of the trip by high-speed rail, cruising along at almost 300 or a little over 300 kilometers per hour. So it does work, it does function, but they have an easier time of getting there than we do.
In more ways than one.
In more ways than one, no pun intended.
All right, that brings us to item 10, which is adjournment. We will adjourn until our next meeting date on December 6th at 10:08, well, approximately. 10.
No earlier than 10.
No earlier.
No earlier than 10.
It gets that squiggly line, yeah, that you always use, those squiggly line.